Welcome to Last Match Standing, the podcast where we review, relive, and rank the 100 greatest wrestling matches of all time. As always, I'm Spencer.
I'm the Crimson Mask.
And I miss Red Shoes.
Guys, this episode that we are doing today might be the one that I am the most excited about going into.
I have never been this excited about a match that I'd never seen before.
I am somewhere in between both of those. When you first mentioned this one, I'm like, oh, I've heard of this one. I've never seen it. I know it's supposed to be insane. And then I watched it, and I'm like, okay.
So before we get too far, it is insane. Before we get too far, I feel like we need to address the elephant in the room. Spencer, Paul, you do sound a little bit funky, a little bit different. Spencer and Paul are actually
the elephant in 3 separate rooms, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, 3 rooms.
Right. So as everyone, hopefully everyone is practicing social distancing right now because of this stupid stuff that's going on. We are currently, this is our first time doing a call-in with the 3 of us for an episode. So apologies for the little bit of funky audio. We're going to get through it the best we can, and hopefully we'll be on the other side of this thing pretty soon.
I think so. And we are coming to you live via satellite.
There you go. Tie it back to wrestling.
Perfect. And before we really get going, I think we have a couple of things that we need to talk about. Some housekeeping, if you will. And I want to start with, the 3 of us, we were thinking about ways, like, how can we keep everyone involved, and how can we give something out there on Twitter that people can be interested in and want to do while we're all kind of stuck at home, right? And we decided to come up with a last match standing March Madness tournament bracket.
Yes, we did.
Which was really convenient because we just released 32 episodes, right? This is episode 34, but we started the bracket right before we released Canadian Stampede for episode 33. So
good.
It was wonderful. So we seeded the bracket. It was just based off of how we ranked them. And as things stand currently, as of this recording, which is a Saturday, I think all time is no longer important, but
time is irrelevant.
It's totally irrelevant. But as of this recording, we do have our championship final match set, and it is Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin from WrestleMania 13, which beat Okada Omega to get to the finals.
That was a very close bracket.
Very close.
Every time I looked at it, it was tied.
Well, yeah. A lot of them were. A lot of them were very close, and we actually got a pretty fun interaction with at Quizmaster Flash saying Liger versus Muda versus Magnum versus Tully is so unfair. And it really was.
I just remember immediately like, hey, the seating is based on rank, not on opinions.
And hey, guess what?
They're so cold.
Guess what, at Quizmaster Flash? This is how it feels to be on this show and have to rank matches every single episode.
I'm telling you, some of these matchups were so impossible, like Angle and Undertaker versus Angle and Benoit.
I didn't even look at that one. I'm like, I refused to even objectify that one.
It was just, some of these matchups were so tough. But Hart and Austin is in the championship match against Triple H and Shawn Michaels from SummerSlam 2002, which I actually was a little surprised because that match beat Eddie and Ray. to get to the Final Four against Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate.
So I guess people
And
agree with us, Spencer.
You know what?
Yeah.
I feel a little bit validated.
Don't you feel validated?
Our championship, I do. Our championship is between our number 2 and number 3 match on our list, and
That feels
really
pretty
good.
good. Feels pretty good.
I'm not
both
saying
those.
that I. Go ahead, Paul.
I was saying both those matches at one time were number 1, but not anymore.
That's a good point. I'm not saying that I need a pat on the back, but I accept all pats on the back. So I feel very good about having these two in the championship. As we just checked right before we started recording, and those matches are actually tied.
Oh,
right
of course
now
they are.
in the voting in the championship round. So
All right, patrons, get ready.
Yeah, patrons, they have the tiebreaker. They've already done it for a couple matches already in the tournament. For everyone that participated and voted, it'll be over, obviously, by the time this recording posts. But thank you so much for participating and playing in that. It was really, really a lot of fun. And we just hope that we were able to give you something to kind of think about while you're still at home and relaxing. So a whole lot of fun. I'm excited to see which one of those two picks up the ultimate win.
Yeah, me too. Well, gentlemen, we have a correction to make.
Oh, fantastic.
I feel like that's 2 in a row we've actually done this. We've actually done the correction. So if you listened to our Canadian Stampede episode, which I hope you did, is my favorite one we've recorded so far, I said in no uncertain terms that the last pay-per-view to use the In Your House banner was No Way Out of Texas. I was wrong. I want to say thank you to Storm Bennett for letting me know that it actually was Backlash 99. So a solid year and 3 months after I said it was.
that year is just a black hole in Paul's mind.
That is corporate ministry. It's me, Austin era. I was not watching at that point. I had kind of gone, this is stupid. I don't want to watch this.
Storm Bennett is a loyal friend and true. That guy has been really, really great. We appreciate the correction, first of all, Storm. But, wishing Storm the best. He's been really great to talk to lately. And how about that? A streak almost as impressive as the Powerbomb streak. Correction corners 2 weeks in a row.
How about that?
Oh, man. We got some more interaction. If any of our listeners out here, if any of you listen to the Attitude Era podcast, we will first off want to say a huge thank you to them. We are actually able to sponsor their capturing contest for the second time, actually. And I got a couple of interactions from that. We got something from Austin Cho, who said, I mentioned that he listened to that episode and he heard the ad for us, and he went to go listen to Starcade 97. Which is that episode is kind of funny because that episode was basically our pilot episode to kind of see if this format worked, and we've changed a lot from it, but I think it works, and looking forward to listening to more episodes. So I'm really interested. So thank you very much, Austin, for reaching out to us. Glad to have you aboard, and a huge thank you to Attitude Era Podcast, specifically to Kevin Mann, who we wish the best. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Austin, thanks so much for reaching out. I remember recording that episode. It was our pilot episode. It was pretty much, let's test all the equipment. Let's test the format. Does this thing work? And we didn't rank it because we didn't necessarily think it's a great match. All things considered.
I think the build belongs on the list, but the match itself does not.
It's fun. It's like I had the most fun doing that match, and actually that was the first time the three of us sat down together in a room ever.
It really was.
So yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time. And we actually, one last point before we move on to this match, I need to throw a huge thank you to Harley, a great patron, who submitted this match that we're covering today as a request match that we do. And we saw it, we looked it up, and we were just like, oh my God. So huge thanks to Harley for recommending Akira Hokuto versus Shinobu Kandori at AJW Dreamslam 1993.
Man, reaching back for this one.
I've got goosebumps right now.
April the 2nd, 1993, from Yokohama, Kanagawa, Japan. I mean, this is the pinnacle, right? This is
absolutely.
Dreamslam 1. It's actually part of a Dreamslam 2 kind of day event where Dreamslam 2 was about 9 days after Dreamslam 1. It was a smaller show, Dreamslam 2 was, but it was all in celebration of All Japan Pro Wrestling's, Women Pro Wrestling's 25th anniversary.
Wow.
In 1993. And guys, let me tell you something about this show as a whole. this show is a staple. Dreamslam 1, it's like pinnacle women's wrestling, and it was voted. And let me tell you something: if Meltzer says it, it's true. So that means it was voted Wrestling Observer's best major wrestling show of the year in 1993, which is very surprising considering it had to go up against WrestleMania 9.
Oh, no, it is not. It is not surprising at all that one. Although WrestleMania 9 was the in-ring debut of the narcissist Lex Luger.
The narcissist.
And we will be talking about that match pretty soon on Patreon. So get ready, gentlemen.
It's going to be fun. But no,
Right.
I think if this...
eat your Lex Lunchables.
Honestly, I think if this match went up against WrestleMania 10, it still would have won out.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a really big fan. And you know what? Before we get into the match itself, I just want to point out, it's amazing how many Japanese retired pro wrestlers enter into politics. So
I was wondering if you were going to mention.
I was very interested in this one as well.
Hiroshi Hase, former IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion and WCW International Heavyweight Champion, now a successful politician in Japan. The legendary Antonio Inoki was elected into the House of Councilors in 1989 as a representative of his own Sports and Peace Party. Inoki actually traveled to Iraq in, quote, unofficial one-man diplomatic mission and successfully negotiated with Saddam Hussein for the release of Japanese hostages before the outbreak of the Gulf War. AKA, Inoki is a badass.
Yeah.
And he will be on this list.
Oh, yeah. We got a couple of them in the pocket that we're going to talk about and very, very excited about it.
All this to say, Shinobu Kandori, one of the competitors in this match, is one of the greatest wrestling contests of all time, that we're about to talk about, is actually now a member of the House of Councilors in the Japanese National Legislature.
Of course she is.
I mean, it's nice
something
that they
about
all copied Jesse the Body Ventura.
They did it first.
I'm just kidding.
It's about time we got a wrestler in the White House.
Oh my God.
So they the equivalent in Japan.
Well, let's talk about
Kandori. How cool is that?
And so let's talk about Shinobu Kandori. She's captured actually a bronze medal in the 84 World Judo Championships, and later she planned to compete in the 1988 Summer Olympics, but decided she was more interested in professional wrestling. Hats off to her. She actually trained in the New Japan Pro Wrestling Dojo by the legendary Yoshiaki Fujiwara.
Oh, man.
And Kandori began her wrestling career in Japan Women's Pro Wrestling in 1986, ironically taking on the role of a pro judo martial artist who hated pro wrestling. So think Shayna Baszler, right? That is essentially
really
her character.
You know, you bring up Shayna Baszler. I was thinking Shayna Baszler as well. You think about Brock Lesnar. It's this character where there's some legitimacy because of their background coming into professional wrestling, and that's something, especially in Japan in 1993, is not something that was common. You know, so for her to come in with this character as someone that actually walked the walk, so to speak, was very different, but really, really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, All Japan Women's Pro Wrestling at the time, it kind of held a monopoly on women's wrestling, right? So it was essentially women's wrestling in Japan in the 80s was AJW. And
yeah, but
go ahead.
They took it seriously.
Yeah.
They actually took it seriously, unlike they did in America.
Well, this was really the rise. The 80s was the rise of women's pro wrestling in Japan, and all eyes were on AJW. But AJW's top star, Jackie Sato, saw an opportunity to break the mold. And so she took advantage of her spot and the rising popularity of women's wrestling and formed JWP, Japan Women's Pro Wrestling, in 1986. And Shinobu Kandori debuted in JWP's very first show against none other than Jackie Sato. However, during this match, Sato gave Kandori a legitimate eye injury. And the following year, Sato went off script in another match and legitimately attacked Kandori, repeatedly hitting her in her eye that was still healing from the last time they went at it. So, and she had no warning. This was not part of the match at all. So the situation finally blew up, and an infamous incident on July 18th, 1987, when Kandori attacked Sato, got her receipt, and beat her in the ring for several minutes. And so that match actually led to Sato's retirement due to the injuries inflicted.
I feel like this would be the perfect time to put beaten within an inch of your life. That's my favorite wrestling phrase.
Quite literally.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say I blame her. And she tried to take her out. So, all right, fine. I'm going to take you out.
So obviously,
in front of the world.
Obviously, there was some friction here. Sato being the one who started JWP. So the differences between the shoot wrestlers that were there and the more entertainment style wrestlers there was apparent. And Shinobu would later go on to break apart from JWP and form Ladies Legends Pro Wrestling in 1992.
And that's actually good to note, because this Dreamslam event, even though it's celebrating All Japan Women's Pro Wrestling's 25th anniversary, it's actually a conglomerate of several different women's promotions in Japan in 1993. So we get this matchup because Hokuto is representing AJW and Kandori is representing her LLPW.
Yeah. Akira Hokuto debuted for AJW, and she actually debuted shortly before her 18th birthday, which is just insane.
Right. She was their Rookie of the Year in 1985. She came on and was really good to start.
But she had quite a checkered history there. In 87, she broke her neck getting tombstone from the second rope.
Oh.
And she continued wrestling the match.
Jesus.
But get this. She did most of the match holding her own head in place with her hand because she suffered a near internal decapitation.
That is fucking insane.
I would like to go vomit.
After that, she was out for about a year, which is insane that she was only out for about a year. And then she broke her leg in a match with Manami Toyota in 1990. Some kind of diving move off the top went wrong onto the floor and smashed her knee onto the guardrail. And she actually, get this, she tried to finish the match. But eventually they called it off. She dropped out. That was a tournament. She dropped out of the tournament. And so she's essentially earning this reputation as vulnerable. And it's so frustrating to see her in this match against Kandori, the shoot wrestler. And Kandori just tears her apart here.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Kandori has that reputation as essentially the opposite. So it makes for a really interesting story. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll say Kandori is a brick shithouse. So let's just let everybody, if you're not familiar with her, just picture that.
It's scary.
Yeah, I would like to bring up here that Hokuto, who, obviously these injuries, and it did give her this reputation of being vulnerable, but it also gave her the reputation of being very tough.
Oh, yeah.
Because she would, like you said, try to finish these matches, and then she would come out there regardless of her injuries. She earned the nickname the Mummy. People would call her the Mummy because she would come out just totally bandaged up, but ready to compete.
But she would go.
Yeah, I mean, is that not like, I don't know if, we've done 33 matches. This is match 34. And listen, all of these wrestlers that we have on this list are tough, but you'd be hard pressed to find two tougher people on our list than the two women in this match.
And the crowd there recognized it. They knew.
Yeah.
I mean, the crowd was giving them 100% before the bell rang.
Oh, yeah, that crowd was fucking on at a 10 this entire time. And they gave him a lot, too. And I'm like, Jesus, there's points. I'm like, that's enough. Y'all can please stop wrestling.
Everything about this match screamed a huge match feel. Was this the one? I think if I looked at the card, and I think this was the one that was right before the main event.
That's correct. Yeah.
How about
the main event was a 2 out of 3 falls tag team match.
Right. Which is very common in Japan.
Right. Right. Hokuto, there's two things that happened after this match in her career that I think are fascinating little tidbits. One of them is in October of this year, Hokuto is set to have a title match for the WWWA Singles Championship against Aja Kong. Sound familiar?
Oof. Yes.
But Hokuto got injured in August, 2 months before the match was supposed to take place. So she said, I still want to have the match, but out of respect for the championship, I want it to be a non-title match.
Wow.
Since I'm injured. Isn't that incredible?
I just got goosebumps.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I mean, fan for life. Just off of that story, I think that's amazing. And I guess the other one would be that she has the distinction of being the only WCW women's champion.
Yeah.
Isn't that fascinating?
That's a trivia question for you.
Well, she won the belt, and then she never defended it.
Right. They had a tournament in WCW to crown this women's champion. She actually entered it twice. She was in the first round twice because she wrestled as Hokuto and as Reina Jabuki. So she had two different first round matches. She lost as Jabuki, but ended up winning the whole tournament in a finals against Medusa.
Starrcade 96.
Right.
That's absolutely.
Jabuki was actually her lucha persona because she did wrestle as a luchador. And so it was interesting that she had those two personas. So why not take advantage of that and make her do double duty?
Love it.
Well, I just think it's interesting that WCW, much like WWF, would, all right, let's do this big women's division. I'm bored. Fuck it. Just, we don't need them. All right, we crown a champion. This big grand stage, Starrcade. Yeah, and then we're just not going to have her defend that title. And then she's going to say, all right, fuck you, I'm going back to Japan. And then I'm going to basically retire at the top of my game.
I mean, just based off of those two backgrounds, I mean, the respect I have for these two wrestlers going into the match is incredible. And then to see what they do in the ring, just, and we'll talk about it, but it's something very, very special.
Yeah, well, I mean, we talk about how matches on this list tend to start at a fever pitch, right? I mean, that's how the vast majority of the matches start really fast. And the stiff hit by Hokuto right off the bat here, as she grabs the mic and just starts berating Kandori. And I actually looked up what she said. She said,
"Oh, good.
Is this the best you got?" Right off the bat.
Golly, I mean, that speaks to the pre-match interviews. It just tells the perfect story because you're watching the interviews that show, and we'll drop the link to this match on Twitter and stuff so everybody can know where to go watch it. But the YouTube video starts with these pre-match interviews, and Hokuto is very intense, right? She's wearing the big white wig. She's got the sword. She is intense. And they go to Kandori, and she's very calm and confident, right? Which makes her somehow scarier than Hokuto. And they get into the ring, and the ring is interesting. They end up having actually two referees, and this is going to be the second match on this list where I don't know the referee's name. I couldn't even begin to tell you where to find it. We also have commentators that I could not tell you what they're saying or what their names are, and I do apologize for that as well. They're nice. I like the sound of their voices, but I have no idea what's happening. But there's also these girls around the ring that end up actually playing a pretty substantial part in lots of this match. But I did want to point out that the referee that stays inside the ring, the vibe that I got was a little bit Sailor-ish. I think it's the white shoes.
He
ain't
was
red
wearing
shoes.
White shoes. No.
I missed red shoes in this one. And it wasn't just because the Japanese matches on this list so far have featured red shoes. This referee wasn't very good. In my opinion, in my humble opinion.
Well, I didn't notice him, so I guess that means he did his job.
Yeah,
okay,
what do you think?
What I noticed was there were a couple of moments where I saw shoulders on the mat, and this referee did not count. And I'm like, okay, well maybe this was just the style in '93. You had pinfalls had to be very obvious, but
Landon, I think I got it. He was wearing horizontal stripes.
Oh my God.
That's what it was. Yeah, he's wearing horizontal stripes, which I've never seen in wrestling before.
That explains it. There
That's
you go.
what it was. The stripes are horizontal, so he's like, "Oh, you gotta be standing up for a pin, not laying down." Oh shit, I need to count that. And by the time he gets to the counting, they're like, "I'm not even pinning her anymore. Fuck off."
Yep, and there's actually a moment where there's a dive off the top, and never mind, I'm not even going to go for a pin here because the ref's not going to get down there in time anyway.
No.
But all that to say, despite this, these two go on to have what I am considering a top 10 quality match. I'll just go ahead and do mega spoiler.
Okay.
Wow, how about that? Yeah, but I mean, to your point, like the whole lead up of the match is very intense, and you're seeing these two characters, and to Landon's point, the forearm and then yelling into the mic from Hokuto. I mean, I was so hyped just from that. We're 2 seconds into the match, and I'm already like ready to go.
Well, what I love about that is as soon as she yells in the microphone, Kandori immediately wrestles her to the ground and separates her fucking shoulder.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh my God. She rolls out of the ring and they like reset her shoulder and they got the fucking cold spray. And I'm like, oh my God, they're really going for realism here.
I mean, and I like that there's sort of so she does get out of the ring and she's attended to by the trainers. And so there's a little bit of a slow build here in the beginning. And the way that she's selling, it makes you wonder, how the hell is she going to be able to compete with that arm? Like, this is kind of looking bad.
She does. I don't know how, but she did.
And so she tries to get in the ring a couple of times, and Kandori's like, okay, let's do this. And so she kind of had a tough time. So she has to quickly get into the ring and bull rush Kandori to have any chance of offense. It's like that classic, I have the high ground situation.
You can't get in the ring. And what I love about that is when she realizes she can't win that way, they're like, all right, fuck that. Let's go brawl into the crowd.
Yeah, the really interesting thing here is that you can tell in these very first 2 minutes of this match the different styles.
Yep.
Because Kandori instantly goes for these submissions, right? She goes, she gets that armbar, and then even after Hokuto comes back into the ring and tries to like brawl her way back in, Kandori's still just trying to reapply the armbar, still working the arm until Hokuto's like, okay, this is not for me. I'm done out of the ring. Like, we're out of here.
They start brawling, and I keep forgetting. I love how they do this in Japan, where you have the ringside barricade, then the internal barricade. You have the film crew, the photographers, the ring announcers, the timekeeper, and the announcers, and then there's a separate barricade where the crowd sits. And I got to say that anytime it comes to table spots in wrestling, I'm usually like, fuck yeah, table. When Hokuto gets on that table and picks up Kandori for a tombstone on a very, very thin table, then Kandori rolls backwards and turns into her own tombstone pile driver, tombstones Hokuto onto the table, which does not break. They both bounce and flop off, and they get a close zoom in of where Hokuto's head put a massive crack and then a hole into the table.
And I just want to point out here that is not a gimmicked table.
No, it was not. Dude, like the crater left in that table from Hokuto's head. And then like Kandori gets up and it's like, fuck, climbs back over, like, let's fucking do this. And then Hokuto stands up and she is covered in so much blood. Oh man,
it's terrible. It's really, really scary looking, and it's interesting because obviously we talked about Kandori has a game plan here. She's going after threatened submission after submission. At one point, she does a body slam and immediately follows it up with an arm bar. Like, she's clearly trying to gas out Hokuto. And it, like, even when she can't get one submission, she slides into another one. So she slides into a front face lock at one point. Vision's obstructed. What are you going to do when your vision's obstructed? You got blood in your eyes. Like, it's a very I love the way that they made you feel that Hokuto had no chance.
Well, I really enjoyed what you said, because when they get back in the ring and she's got these holes on her, and she's like, I mean, the levels of blood we're talking here, we're talking like Tully Blanchard, Magnum TA, or like Candice LeRae levels of blood here. There's a lot of blood. Like, Hokuto has this beautiful blonde hair. Within minutes, it is orange.
Yeah.
It's no longer blonde. It is orange. Her face is blood. There's no skin. It's only blood. The whites of her eyes are gone. There's only blood. And this is minutes. This is a long match.
Yeah, and here you get 2 stiff boots from Kandori to follow it up.
Oh, just sort of kick her in the face. Like, come on.
And goes for a third.
This is a 30-minute match. We're only 5 or 6 minutes into it when we get this tombstone pile driver. And I just want to give some credit to the camera work here. It's not great the whole match. Like when they go into the crowd here in a minute, it's not super.
No, there's a couple of rough spots.
But the camera work with this table spot to after they bounce off the table to give a close up on the actual table for that crater that you mentioned that was incredible.
Horrible.
And then to be in the perfect position for when Hokuto basically pulls her hair back for the first time and you see how
so much blood,
disgusting and bloody she is. I just thought it was incredible camera work and it helped tell an
terrifying.
Incredible story.
That's good shit.
Yeah. What I thought was interesting though is not long after this happens, like you said, Lennon, they get some really stiff kicks. Like Kandori throws Hokuto out of the ring and just like she kicks her out of the ring, and I'm like, man, what is Hokuto gonna do? She starts throwing these insane spinning wheel kicks.
Yep.
Out of nowhere, knocks. Well, I can't say that. Knocks Kandori silly, and then she gives her a heel kick to the face. And I watched it, and I'm like, she broke her nose. And I was sitting next to my partner, and they looked and said, no, she didn't. I ran it back. We watched it again. Like, her nose is broken. How can you tell? Because the camera immediately does a close-up on Kandori, who immediately is checking her nose to see if it's broken, and it is fucking caved in. It's broken. And now she's busted open, and she's bleeding.
Yeah, there's
what the fuck?
The scuffle on the outside is ridiculous. Like generally, just general rule, sweeping declaration, I don't like moving matches to the outside. That automatically the match gets a few less points from me. It did not bother me here. And it's actually so insane that they get separated because all of the trainers go out with them. All of their trainers are following them out and trying to separate them, trying to lead them back into the ring.
Well, honestly, they probably think that Kandori is gone off script because, like,
Kandori is a shooter.
She's a shooter. Hokuto's a bloody mess, and now Kandori's got a broken nose, and she's bleeding from the forehead too. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure. Oh shit, they're gonna. What's gonna happen? And then they just kind of go to the ring, and then they start wrestling. And I'm like, oh, here we go.
Well, and again, to Spencer's point, the camera work is really good here. You see her blonde hair now has tips of pink. And they zoom in on her face, and you can tell like that's what's driving her here. So when they're both back in the ring, she slams her boot down onto Kandori's face and is using the ropes for leverage. And I mean, she runs the ropes and gives a receipt for that stiff boot she received earlier.
Oh yeah, she does a spinning heel kick that I was convinced legitimately knocked Shinobu out. I thought she was out. She takes this kick because it was scary. This is like X-Pac, I'm swinging my leg at full force. You're taking this on the chin.
You're absolutely right. Kandori in the later half of her career becomes like a legitimate MMA fighter, and I thought surely that started right now. Like that's what it looks like. It's so real, and it feels like these two wrestlers have just gotten pissed off now at being hurt, and so so Kandori picks up Hokuto to like suplex her, and you think it's going to be one of those like drop her on her
on the ropes.
No. Nope. She just drops her to the outside.
Drops her to the outside. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then she does a fucking tope. I'm like, oh my god. Stop it. She's already dead.
I mean, we're only 12-ish minutes into this match now. We're not even halfway through.
No.
And, Hokuto gets back into the ring, and Kandori applies, which I will, of course, call the Asuka lock. But it's a cross-face chicken wing, right, with the body scissors. And
oh, man, the way she does it, though, it's just so realistic because she's trying to lock it in. And Hokuto is just scrambling. She is just rolling wherever she can she gets into the corner and she's got like both angles of the ropes. It's like, no, fuck you. And Shinobu, of course, she lets go. And then Hokuto hits a fucking pile driver. Like, bitch, boom.
How about that pile driver? Landon, what did you think about the jumping pile driver there?
It was nasty. And that's the thing. Like, she doesn't lift Kandori at all.
No.
She tucks the head between the legs and jumps.
I love the way Kandori sells it. Like, she's not unconscious. She immediately grabs the back of her neck and does that very slow, like, I can't move, like that roll where I'm holding the back of my neck and like her eyes are kind of glazed over. Like, that's how you sell a pile driver.
It's a good sell. It's a little too real.
Yeah, I'm like, did she actually? I thought she broke her neck.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay,
that's what it looked like.
She's got a broken nose. Now she's got a broken neck, and we still got about 15 minutes to go.
Let me tell you a story. Really, just a really brief aside. Because Landon, you just said that it was too real, and I just wanted to make a note that if you weren't us, or you weren't people that were big wrestling fans, weren't really bothered by some stuff, this is a match that if you just showed, your casual person who doesn't really watch wrestling too much, it could be very squeamish and very uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
I because I knew the reaction I would get, I sent a screenshot of Hokuto with the face, right after the tombstone with the face of blood. I sent a screenshot to my mother and said, "This is what I'm doing tonight."
Oh
no.
She was not a happy camper. It was very funny to me, and I just, it speaks to how really grotesque this match and borderline way too real it gets.
But
so
that's the thing. Like, I want to touch on some things that aren't about the gore, because it's not just about the gore and the brutality and the shoot wrestling.
It's way more than that. The gore is the background.
There's a little bit before the pile driver, actually. Hokuto gets a waist lock, and it looks like she's going to attempt a belly-to-back suplex, but I think it's Kandori gets the waist lock on Hokuto, but Hokuto grabs the ropes and blocks it, and so she jumps up and pushes off of the ropes, and when they roll back, she slides her leg up, and it almost, to me, it looks like she was attempting to cover Kandori, but the ref didn't go to count or anything. But
the ref is kind of going, "Oh wow, this match is really good. Maybe I should do my job."
It was really it looked really, really good.
And at this point, I wrote down that just Hokuto's hair is just orange now.
Pretty much.
There's so much blood. It's just her blonde hair is orange, and I don't know. I don't know how she got out of this, but she managed to get out of this, and then both women trade single leg crabs. Like, Hokuto gets out, does a single leg crab, and then Kandori is like, "No, fuck you," grabs her ankle, and then she rolls out into her own single leg crab.
I love it.
And I'm like, this is insane. And then another spinning wheel kick by Hokuto, which almost knocks Kandori out of the ring. She takes that kick, and she just takes several steps back. And the only thing holding on the ring right now is the bottom rope. Like, she nearly falls through the ropes. And I'm like, these two are trying to kill each other.
Yeah, well, she tries to follow it up with another one, but gets caught. And the last thing you want to do is give up your leg to a submission specialist. She hits a beautiful DDT. I mean, it's almost like the head. It's like a one fluid motion DDT float over to the 2 count, and then
it's beautiful.
Triangles the head.
Well, I think what's interesting to note here is because I think that this moment, which is a little over 16 and a half minutes into the match, is, first of all, our first pinfall attempt. At least one that's counted by the referee.
Yeah, the first time that referee hand hits the mat. Halfway through.
I think it's a good, time-wise, it's really about the halfway point, but it does mark sort of a second half of this match, because it does go into pinfall attempt from the DDT, but then you get the leg crabs, reversals, you get the head scissors, and I think they really step it up a notch after this moment.
Well, Hokuto goes for a frog. She hits a top rope frog splash. And okay, here we go. I thought she was going to pin her. Doesn't pin her. She goes to the opposite corner and goes for a second frog splash. I'm like, here we go. She's gonna win this match. But Kandori puts her knees up.
And then what happens, Paul? What happens after that?
Kandori hits a fucking beautiful sit-out powerbomb. right into a pinfall. And I'm like, yes, I stood up, streak continues. And I scared the shit out of my partner who had fallen asleep at this point. Scared the shit out of her.
Let me tell you, that power bomb was really, really good from
That was
Kandori.
stiff
Oh,
as
just folded her in half. Like, this is fucking brutal. And then, oh God. And then she puts her in the fucking kata hajime and then starts spinning her around like the big swing, but by the neck before she sits in and locks it in. I'm like, are you got to be fucking kidding me?
But that's okay because Akira follows it up by hitting a gorgeous dragon suplex.
Oh, dragon suplex. And then she hits a power bomb. 2 power bombs.
I do think, and I could be wrong about this could be a correction pointer next week if this is wrong, but I do think that Hokuto calls that power bomb the dangerous queen bomb.
It looked fucking scary. Well, when she picked her up, it was like one of those, I don't care if you're horizontal or not. I'm picking up, I'm slamming you down. Because Kandori lands like on like the bottom of her neck, her shoulders, very, very scary landing. I mean, it puts the move over. But I was like, is she okay? Oh, she's fine. They're still wrestling. Okay. We got a somersault plancha to the outside by Hokuto. Then we get a top rope missile drop kick to the outside by Hokuto.
Let me make a point about that missile drop kick. Because again, I feel like we're definitely in the second half of this match where they are just going nuts, right? And when Kandori is out of the ring, after she takes that somersault plancha, which by the way looked almost like a kick to the face.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah, when she takes that move, as she's getting up, one of the trainers
grabs her
Kandori by the hair to hold her up so that Hokuto could jump off the top and do the missile drop kick. I thought that was very interesting.
And I was like, well, what's going on here?
And you could tell she wasn't necessarily all there to catch her, because if you look closely, Hokuto hits the ground hard.
Yes, very hard.
Because
there's 2 minutes or so after that move where they're not doing anything.
No, there's a lot of slow get back in the ring, and and then Shinobu she goes to that arm bar, but again, just Hokuto, just ring awareness. She gets that bottom rope every single time.
You know what I love about that armbar, Paul? And I'm sorry to interrupt. What I love about it is, I think Hokuto's reaction in these attempts to get out of these submission moves are very real. You know,
like she's just trying to flip, roll,
and you can
whatever
hear
she
the
can.
Commentators kind of laugh a little bit because the way her body's moving and she's jumping all around, it is kind of funny to look at, but it's absolutely how I would imagine trying to get out of a move like that.
Oh yeah, like just whatever you can do.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting.
And then, gentlemen, I have to say, an unprecedented moment in the history of Last Match Standing. We get a third power bomb.
The Tiger Bomb.
The Black Tiger Bomb by Shinobu. Oh, God.
It's
Kandori,
really, really
fuck.
good. Yeah, I think Kandori is now Paul's new favorite wrestler.
Yeah.
But I love it. I
bombs.
love that she made a conscious decision to use a Tiger Bomb here, because what is she doing right before this? She attempts to go for Akira's arms again, and it's another unsuccessful armbar attempt, and so she's like, okay, let me capture these arms and show you what I can do with them.
Fuck you. Double underhook. Power bomb. Here we go. Check out. Holy shit. How the fuck did you kick out of that?
And this actually leads to my favorite moment of the match. Spoiler warning.
Oh, man.
I love this moment. Kandori is standing in the ring, daring Hokuto to get up. And when she does, she smacks her down. I mean,
smacks the shit out of her.
Talk about continuing to stack the deck against Akira, right?
Yeah.
This match made me 100% on the edge of my seat, pleading for Akira to get up. I wanted her to pull through, and here she does. So after another hard slap, Kandori gets caught, and Hokuto traps the arm and hits a vicious back suplex, dropping Shinobu on her neck.
On her fucking neck. And I was like, that's it. Match is over. She's done.
I wish I could tell what the crowd was chanting here.
I couldn't tell, but like not to be outdone by this, Hokuto hits a fucking scoop brain buster.
Well, so was it? So I couldn't tell. Is it a burning hammer or was it a Michinoku driver?
No. Burning hammer is like a reverse FU/attitude adjustment.
Right.
It's like this backwards, like you're on your stomach, so your back.
Right.
So I said the same thing, Landon. Like I wrote, like when I was doing the notes, like taking notes for this, I was like, man, I'm going to call that a burning hammer only because the way they land is similar to a burning hammer, but it's not.
Oh, it's like a brain buster.
It's closer to a Michinoku
Scary.
driver because she picks it up almost like a scoop slam, but then the way that she's driven, it's almost similar, reminiscent to a Michinoku driver.
Yeah, it's like a. I called it a brain buster. I could be wrong, but it scared the shit out of me.
The crowd thinks it's over with that brain buster from Hokuto. They think it's over. They count with the ref.
Yeah, 1, 2. Oh! Kandori kicks out. Oh my god! And then Kandori hits one of her own.
Yeah, Hokuto goes for a second one, and Kandori's like, "Nope, look what I can do."
No, fuck you. She does one.
Look what I can do.
Oh god!
And at this point, in the match, the crowd is losing their mind, and it's been 30 minutes.
And they just a desperate struggle. And then I don't know where this came from, but Hokuto essentially delivers a very Okada-like forearm.
Yeah, so the first one, I think the first one is a stiff punch, and Kandori falls back, and you can actually see the back of her head smack the mat, and you hear the thud. I mean, that hurt to watch. It hurts to watch.
Oh god! Then Hokuto picks her up and then smashes her with this forearm.
Well, no,
and then
no. So it's the stiff punch. And then Kandori's head hits the mat, and then Shinobu gets up and returns the punch, and they both fall again. And that's whenever Akira Hokuto gets up and nails her with a stiff forearm.
I was like, God, I was like Okada. This is like a fucking Judas effect over here, man. Like, what the hell?
She slides in for the cover, and what I love here, it was very subtle, but you can see, if you look closely, she puts her hand over her own arm, and she applies a little bit more pressure over Shinobu's shoulders. And that's enough for the 3 count.
And good God, when this ends, Hokuto just collapsed, like on her back in a pool of her own blood.
And the crowd erupts. Like the crowd's losing.
Oh, yeah.
Shinobu
Kandori is able to... Oh, man, she's pissed.
She gets a huge applause as she makes her way back to the locker room.
But I noticed she stands up. She stands up and she walks out of the ring herself. She's fucking pissed, and they follow her all the way back to the locker room, and she's angry.
Yeah, the camera Goldbergs her, right? It follows her all the way out, and she is scowling the entire way.
Oh, she's so angry. And they go back to the ring where Hokuto has to be helped up, and she cuts this scathing promo, and there's just so much blood.
Well,
and
you could tell. So we didn't have a translator, right?
I really want to know what she said.
But whatever she said, you could tell she gave absolutely everything she had. If by nothing other, you can tell if by nothing other than looking at her hair, which at the start of the match we've said was like white blonde, is now pink and deep red and just dripping blood and sweat. Full-on
Ric Flair effect here.
The
hair just is dyed red. And then she's helped out of the ring, and then we get a blood-soaked post-match interview.
Yeah. Let me tell you something.
Oh, my God. This fucking match.
I've been following professional wrestling for 20 years. I've seen more matches than I could possibly count, and probably I've forgotten more wrestlers than I remember. I will never forget Akira, Hokuto, and Shinobu Kandori. And I encourage anybody who has never seen this match to please stop what you're doing, go watch it. Guys, we've been doing this podcast for almost a year. And part of what I wanted to get out of this was to find those diamonds out there that people may not have heard of, may not have seen. Guys, this match lit a fire in me. I want to go back there and watch both of these athletes' entire careers. Like, this was insane.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So thank you so much, Harley, for the recommendation, because this match will forever hold a special place in my heart. I loved it.
I'm just gonna say, Harley, you are a Slammy Award winner, but now you're a 2-time Slammy Award winner.
Seriously.
I think what is interesting is this week, and I talked about we talked about Storm Bennett at the beginning, but one of the questions that he asked me just over Twitter over the last couple of days was how many of these matches that we've covered have I seen before doing it on the show?
Oh man,
which was a really good question, but it brought up a really good point, kind of to what Landon was saying, and that is that this podcast, through 34 episodes now, it would have been really easy and a whole lot less work for us to say we're only doing WWE matches. We're going to rank the top 100 WWE matches from 1990 to 2020, and that's going to be our window, and that's what we're going to do. That would have been really, really easy to do. But how awesome is it that we have been able to open the door and expand not only my personal wrestling horizon, but I think all three of us have learned so much just in this first season and a half now of what's really out there, and it's just been so fun. And that doesn't take anything away from any of the matches that we've done already, but it's just been part of the wild ride that's been the best. And that is finding these matches. I didn't expect to, on a Friday night in the middle of March in 2020, to be watching April 2nd, 1993 from Japan, a women's wrestling match. It's just not what I expected to do, but man, has it made a lasting impact.
Oh, absolutely. And to answer Storm's question, 12. I had seen 12 of these 34 matches before we started the show.
I think the number I came up with was 18. I think it was 18 that I said. But
man, have I watched that much more wrestling than you guys?
Well, you haven't seen every match before we did this, right?
Not every one, but I think the vast majority. I don't have the list in front of me right now, but I can only think of a few, maybe this one included, that I didn't see before.
It should be fair, though. I mean, it should be pointed out that, Landon, you do own subscriptions to every wrestling streaming service on the planet Earth.
I might. I
think it is more accessible. But yeah, guys, I mean, I know, Landon, you kind of mentioned your favorite moment earlier with the Kandori slap. Paul, do you have a favorite moment of this match?
The tombstone reversal into another tombstone on the announce table. That scared the shit out of me.
It's incredible.
The power bombs. I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't say those made me pop pretty hard. Just Kandori's overall, just her entire presentation. Because, like we said before, going into this match, Hokuto looks like an Oni demon lord. Like she's got her big red kimono on, the big hair, the horns, the sword. She looks like a demon. Kandori? No, Kandori's just wearing her wrestling gear, but she's so intense. And Landon, you compared her to Shayna Baszler. I'm like, yeah, that's fitting. I would definitely do that comparison. It's just terrifying. And just like I said, her entire presentation scared the shit out of me.
This is not a match that is flawless.
No, there's some mistakes.
When we talk about some of these matches that are super high up on our list, some of them are pretty flawless. But I think part of what makes this match so, and this is kind of a cheesy word, but I'm going to use it anyway. What makes this match so beautiful is that it is not perfect.
No, it wasn't. But it made up for that in every other way possible. Yeah.
I mean, if I have to pick a favorite moment, I do love Kandori's first powerbomb. I think it's stupid. I think it's scary. Just so good. It's hard to say what a favorite moment might be.
I actually preferred Hokuto's follow-up powerbomb. She drops to her knees.
Yeah,
she basically does like the showstopper almost.
It looks crazy. Really good.
Guys, this leads us to, and Landon, you said it early on that this was going to be top 10 material. It's time to decide if it really makes that cut.
I'll go first because I feel like y'all are going to have to talk me down off a ledge.
We'll see. We'll see. I want to hear this.
We've talked about how John Cena versus Shawn Michaels is the perfect number 10 because it's a gatekeeper match.
Yeah.
This is going in the top 10 for me.
Okay.
Actually, the first match that I thought would be a great point of comparison was Magnum and Tully. It's brutality.
So happy you mentioned that because that's the match that I kept thinking of while watching it.
It's brutality personified, and I feel like these two have more to prove. And I enjoyed it better. I would watch it before I watched that match. And
another thing I have on this match that puts it above that one for me. There was no sexual assault before this match. There was no forcibly kissing a manager and saying that she liked it before this match happened.
Yeah.
So
well,
that.
We try and take it. And another thing we try and do, though, is we try and take it through the lens of the era in which it occurred, right?
Oh, man. 1993?
93. This match
to happen in 93?
This match in 93 is more impressive than Cena Michaels in 07, in my opinion. It's more impressive than AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and Christopher Daniels in 2005, in my opinion. And I think the closest I can get to a stopping point is match number 8, Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio. Halloween Havoc 97, they broke some glass ceilings with that one.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's difficult for me to put it any higher than that, but I will say that I feel like the story that Eddie and Ray were telling, they told as well as they could, and so did these ladies. And I would put it above that match, but only above that match because it lit a fire in me that only something like the X Division 4-way would have done.
Okay,
so I would put it right above Eddie and Ray. I think that's a really good spot for it. Number 8.
Number 8.
I would like to say before we move on that I am going to go ahead and also agree that this would go above TA and Blanchard. If that was our starting point.
That was my starting point as well.
It sounds like all three of us agree that it is at least number 11.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Paul, would you like to go or would you like me to go?
I want to hear your opinion first.
Oh, great. I agree, obviously, above TA and Blanchard. I agree over Cena and Michaels. And then, Landon, kind of like you said, this is where it starts to get a little bit dicey. I think that it's very different than everything else on our list.
Oh, very different.
From 10 up. You know, like there's none of these top 10 matches really compare to this one in terms of, you know, style and what it was. I would probably, if I'm crawling through the top 10, I would probably put it right above Cena and Michaels and leave it at the new number 10.
At number 10?
Yeah, that's just I mean, it's not concrete, but that's how I feel right now in the second.
Okay. When I look at the list right now, I definitely am in agreement with you on that one. I would put it at the very least at number 10. And when I look back at number 9 and number 8, which is AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, and then number 8, which is Eddie and Ray, I have a really difficult time putting it above Eddie and Ray. Well, I don't have any trouble putting it above the Unbreakable 05 match. So I'm kind of like on the fence if I want to put it at number 8 or put it at number 9. That's my dilemma right now.
So
it's a really hard decision to make.
Okay, I think if we're circling back, the compromise point that the greatest common denominator between the three of us would be to put it at number 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
Above AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and Christopher Daniels at Unbreakable 2005.
So that would, because that would be moving me up a spot and you down a spot, Landon, right?
Exactly.
And meeting Paul in the middle.
Yeah, because my thing was like, I know I always give you guys shit for not being non-committal, but like I couldn't do it. It's too hard. It's too hard.
It is. It's very hard, as everyone knows now. As everyone knows now, based on the having to vote on that damn tournament ball.
There's an argument that I could make for Kandori and Hokuto for being better than almost every match on this list. You know what I mean? Like it's that good. So you have to kind of start adding up all the different perspectives. You know, you have to talk about legacy, and you have to talk about wrestling and the technique and the flawlessness, and you have to talk about the story and the build and the stage it was on. I mean, Dreamslam was a massive stage.
Oh yeah, big stage. I think for me, the only thing that really tears this match down, and it's really the only thing, is just the fact that it's a little sloppy at times, but I don't blame that on them. I blame that on like whatever the weird shit that was going on with like the ring attendants at a couple of times here. And there's some sloppy camera action, but anything that I would take away from the match has nothing to do with the two wrestlers. It's just other things about the match. You know what I mean? That's the only things that I would take away from it. But other than that, I love this match, and I definitely say this is top 10 shit. I love it.
How are we feeling, Landon, about putting this solidly at number 9, which would bump the Unbreakable 2005 triple threat match to our number 10 position?
I feel comfortable with it. It sounds right.
I do too.
Well, there it is. The new number 9. We had a top 10 match. It's been a bit since we've cracked the top 10.
It has, yeah.
But boy, does this match deserve it. And this top 9 now that we have, this top 10 is really solid. I think it's going to be really tough for something to crack this top 10.
I do too. And I got to say, we've said it 100 times, but go out of your way to watch this match. We will post it on Twitter. Please watch it. Tell us we're wrong. Tell us we're right. If that's your opinion,
I'm really excited and interested to hear the reaction we get for this one.
Oh, me too. Because I feel like we're going to get a lot of. We'll probably get that person who's like, women wrestling, I don't care. Yeah, fuck you, it's not your podcast. But I know we'll probably also get people who are like, holy shit. I would put this against any men's match. And I'm like, I would too. So, boom. Boy.
I do think.
That is at Paul T. Altazan.
That's where
Come at me.
I do think that something that I'd really like to do with this show is it's not like we've split the list up into having, okay, here's the top 50 men's and here's the top 50 women's matches. I think it's super important that we don't do that. And so I love that we're comparing.
I do too.
I love that we're comparing Eddie and Ray versus Kandori and Hokuto. I think that's incredible because I think that those are two of the greatest matches in professional wrestling history.
I agree. Solidly.
Regardless of gender, I think that's totally irrelevant. But to your guys' point, I'm super excited to see what people think about this match, and I do hope that we're able to introduce people to this match that had never seen it before, because I do think that they'll enjoy it.
I think so too.
Agreed.
Boys, this was the most fun. I will probably go watch this match again.
I will.
Oh, I will too.
I will definitely watch this match again.
Oh, and a heartbeat.
I just want to send to everybody out there a quick, thank you so much for listening and taking the time. I know times aren't super fun right now, and things are really strange and difficult and weird. And if we've been able to give you something to take your mind off of all that stuff for just an hour or so, we appreciate you letting us give you that time. If the audio wasn't perfect, I do apologize for that as well. We are doing the best we can, and thanks to Landon and Paul and Dustin for helping get this all together so that we can keep doing the show for you guys even while we're not able to actually physically meet up, because I think it's important to do that. And I think that I know we enjoyed it putting the show on together, but I hope that everybody enjoyed listening to it as well.
Thanks to Harley for the match suggestion.
Oh, absolutely. And I just want to quote the immortal Scott Hall: bad times don't last, but bad guys do. Everybody out there, be safe. Take care of yourselves. Thank you for listening. We appreciate
Until
it.
next time, I'm Spencer.
I'm Paul.
I'm Landon.
And this is Last Match Standing.